Hello! So I'm going to perform a piece called The Road to Recovery. And it's something I wrote last year to navigate my journey. So let's do it. Broken, shattered, and discouraged. Faith fading and shaken to the core. Life failing in the wind of the storm, trust, hope broken, and trust gone. The innocence with which she once viewed life stolen by the reality of the pain she was now living. No, this wasn't what she'd expected at all. How do you write about strength from a place of weakness? How are you to exude strength from a place of brokenness? When life, past, present, and future is viewed through a lens ruptured and splintered in multiple areas by the pains and disappointments of life, how are you to have an undistorted view of what's to come? So that's where we start our story. At the scene of the injury, watching the blood, sweat, and tears flowing, the injured down on the ground, looking at her wound in disbelief. Crowds gathering. She wonders what could be worse than being publicly hurt, and they leave her no time to devise a means of escape. They're beside her, kneeling, with love and sympathy, concern in their eyes. She realizes they're not so bad, so she lets their words of support wash her wounds, enduring the pain through gritted teeth, hidden behind a small, tight smile designed to keep them off the scent of her self-pity and self-condemnation. The wound looks clean enough now for a quick glance to suggest all it needs is little time to heal. So with her small smile and light words, she convinces them, pretends, and for a moment even believes that she's as right as rain. That is, of course, until she sends them on their way again. But he sees, and he knows. To heal this wound, it won't take days or weeks, it could be months or years, but he's determined. If she lets him, he will make sure that she gets up, walks, and leaves. So at this point, I should probably stop and explain who this guy is. He's been there all along, but now is when it feels right to introduce him. He goes by the name Jesus. You might have heard of him. The thing is, you might even know him. She certainly did. In fact, once upon a time, they were the best of friends. She knew she could trust him. He was always there, and he was the kind of guy that kept his word. So when he said she had a future of greatness, well, of course, she believed him. But now it was kind of hard for her to see how she could do great things if she couldn't even walk, let alone leap. She questioned his faithfulness and doubted his plan. She queried if it was right to trust him, and she feared doing it again in case she got hurt. He knew and he saw. She'd forgotten he'd been where she was, heartbroken and hurting, pierced and crushed. He endured neglect and mistreatment, the cross, and all for her sake. He was despised and rejected, a man of sorrows, familiar with suffering and earth lowly esteemed. He walked a hard road just so she wouldn't have to do this alone. But she's avoiding his gaze. So he patiently waits, giving her time and space to choose a path to take. And with each second that passes, she feels weaker, her broken spirit sapping her strength, so she looks back and forth between him and the road to regret. The fear of trusting him is too great to bear, so she starts towards the latter option, aiming to fix it on her own and realizing that with each step she takes, she feels worse. So with reluctance, she turns back to look at him, remembering words he said long ago. Come to me, all you who are weary and that carry heavy burdens, and I will give you rest. He has the strength that she needs. So she turns and starts towards him on the road to recovery. Every word of truth that he speaks stings as it cleans and heals deep within the wound she's been carrying. Every step of faith is a challenge, but each starts to feel easier than the last. And eventually, as she starts to walk, eventually as she starts to limp, she knows that not only will she walk, but that someday, indeed, she will leap.